There's a phenomenon going on in American radio. It's occurring mostly on FM stations, featuring the return of personalities to radio, playing music and doing other things. These are an unusual group of personalities. They are younger, and they do kind of wild things. And two of the better-known personalities and more successful ones are with us tonight. From DC101 in Washington, Greaseman. And from Z100 in New York City, Scott Shannon. We'll meet him in a moment. We welcome to our microphones two of the better-known leaders in this phenomena in radio, Scott Shannon of Z100 New York, Greaseman of DC101 Washington. We will, in about 5 minutes, hear samples of both of their work. Now, if you're over 40, this may jar you a little, what you're going to hear, but this is happening on American radio. You worked here, right, Scott, in Washington?
Right, I worked at WPGC.
And left to go to the station in New York?
I didn't exactly leave. I was kicked out.
For what reason were you kicked out?
Well, it was just, as you know, in radio, there doesn't have to be a reason. It was very conservative ownership, and I had very progressive ideas, and they decided, the main reason was they wouldn't let me on the radio. They didn't think I was a worthy talent.
So you were out of work?
I was out of work. I had plenty of jobs I could have gone to, but I wanted to rest for a while, and from here I went to Tampa, Florida for 2.5 years and developed a morning show. I was not a morning man when I was here. I never had been a morning man. I just decided it would be a nice challenge. So I went to a station in Tampa, Florida, and developed a concept called the Zoo Morning Show. And from there I went to New York City.
And Grease, you arrived here from Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, Florida. Worked there 7 years. August will be 2 years here at DC101.
Have you had, as Scott has had, management problems?
I never really have. I did work here 10 years ago, and they thought maybe I might have been a little early for my time. I wouldn't call it a management problem, but they thought, my God, no. But no, I tend to work well with management, and I can be zany within the parameters, but I try to give that little effect of uncontrollability.
And you were in Jacksonville how long?
7 years.
And then came up here.
Came up here, right.
How would you, we're going to get a sample of hearing it, and then we'll get into lots of areas, and people are calling in already. How would you describe the uniqueness of what you do, Scott? What are you doing that they weren't doing in radio when most of us, say, grew up in and around radio?
Well, I think we're actually saying what the people are thinking. In other words, we are a reflection of what they are thinking. Greaseman, for instance, was in Jacksonville, was the craziest person in America on radio. And now he doesn't have that particular image. Now he's a radio personality, and I think that it's because I think time and radio has caught up with you. Wouldn't you say that?
Well, there have been other people that have done flamboyant things on the radio, so America's radio that in the morning, a lot of times you're going to hear some wacky behavior.
But they lost their jobs for doing it.
Yeah, people that imitated me.
Are both of you playing to what could be called the younger audience?
Not I.
Not you? Not you?
Now, our music probably appeals to a younger audience, but I think the content of the show would be anybody that likes a good laugh could listen to.
Any age group?
Any age.
Any age group.
Is the majority of your audience under 35?
I think that'd be safe to say for most.
Yeah, statistically, if we looked at our ratings books, yeah.
But we constantly, both of us, get calls from people like 47, 50. I had a guy this morning, 52 years old, and I said, what are you doing listening to this? What's it, illegal to be 52 and listen to Z100? And I think that both of us, we have a majority of the audience in that group, but that's from the nature of the music.
Was there a forerunner? Was there anyone that's your kind of guy that started it all? Was it Don Imus? Doing zanier than most morning men, going beyond where people normally did not go?
Well, it used to be when I was first on the radio in the late 60s that the wacky guys were always relegated to 7 to midnight. Remember how they always put the mad daddies and the weirdos? Right, and they always put...
Where I was.
They always put us on at night, and Don Imus was one of the first morning guys that would be on, right in prime time shrieking.
He was great in his time. He was a wonderful, wonderful disc jockey when he was, in that prime of his career. Other people, I got started, believe it or not, I liked Arthur Godfrey. because
he broke rules.
He broke rules, but the thing that amazed me is all that, when I was a kid, like I call them little baby DJs, growing up, they would always say, well, good afternoon and welcome into so. But Arthur would just sit there like, well, what are we going to do now? Maybe I'll strum this. And I said, well, he's just being himself. I like that. How do you do that? And I thought
you are both yourselves, right, Grease? You are yourself.
Yes, I whip into characters, but I think the characters are sprinkled with me.
For the benefit of the audience, what we're going to do is pause. When we come back, now we have people calling in already. If you want to call in early to talk to the Greaseman or Scott Shannon, the area code is 703 and the number is 685-2177. You, Scott, have a cast of characters?
Right. I would like to say, we've been approaching this like it's Greaseman and Scott Shannon. It's not. I actually produced a morning show with a whole cast. Ross Britton, who was formerly with Ross and Wilson on WABC, and J.R. Nelson, our production director, and Claire Stevens. When we took over our station, we found a couple of people who were at the other small jazz station, and we just annexed them. One kid was in the mail room, and he got very popular, named Captain Kevin. He was cut from the Generals. He's about 5'10", and he was about 21 years old.
They're a regular cast that appear.
It's like the Arthur Godfrey show, like we were talking.
And they are the zoo.
Right.
Do you work alone?
I work alone, but I get help from some people at the station. Everybody at the station is, pitches in to make me look good. If they encounter a sound effect, a noise, a gong, a buzz that'll they think I could use to enhance a bit, they'll give it to me. So
we'll break for news headlines. Come back. We'll talk about taste. How far they can go, how far do they go?
Low or no?
For their popularity. Is it a fad? Is it going to stay a long time? Is it the return of personalities to radio? But two of America's major morning personalities, Scott Shannon and the Greaseman, and what you heard, of course, and you may wish to comment on when we go to the calls, is certainly unusual.
I've never heard nothing so disgusting in my life, Larry. Why'd you put those boys on?
I have no idea, but we try to cover the complete scope. Both of you take phone calls, too, right?
Right. I take them live in the morning. I have a delay. So I have 6 seconds to dump somebody if they nail me. Too bad.
We work without a net.
Without
He's
delay?
a man. He's bold. He's proud.
Macho. No, it's dangerous, but in New York. But we pre-screen them, and occasionally something gets through. But, you gotta, I think the audience understands that in the excitement of it. I've always liked to work that way.
Why are the personalities happening, Grease, on FM?
Well, FM these days is the place for music, just because of a public notion that FM's better fidelity. I guess it is a little bit, but...
So then we would think there would be less talk on FM. So why are the personalities occurring on FM, or is this the personality fitting the music?
It's just that the major music stations are FM now, and so it used to be FM was relegated to classical music and hippie stations, but nowadays everybody's on FM playing music and shrieking, so that's why it is.
Agree?
A lot of the problem comes with the fact that people buy FM facilities, for instance, in fringe areas. From the outside.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, there's more FM signals. In other words, a guy who owned a station and paid $30,000 for it, it's now worth $200,000. Paid $200,000 for it, it's worth $5 million. Stations are going in on the outskirts of Atlanta like $5.5 million, and so therefore people are putting more music, and all the stations sound alike. How do you differentiate? You get somebody that can communicate and entertain, and it costs money.
Is there a lot of talent around?
There's a lot of disc jockeys around as far as...
I mean talent. No, be objective. Be honest. Is there a lot of talent around?
There aren't a lot of flamboyant people around. I mean, if you were going to start a brand new station and you wanted to make an impact in the market and you wanted to find somebody that wasn't already under contract for another major station to do your morning show, you'd have to do you some looking, to be honest.
It's very common. I've been in programming also almost daily. Get calls from people all around the country. Where's the morning man? I need a morning man bad. They always think the morning man is the key, and it is. However, the problem comes there's not enough people training people to be morning men. And in the trade publications such as Billboard, Radio and Records, I just looked through the Radio and Records on the way over here, and it had like 5 ads. We want the nation's greatest morning man for our station, and there's not that many great radio disc jockeys out there to do mornings.
And I think it is like that they don't get into the basic things in life. Now, just a few days ago, Candace Bergen was here. She used this microphone. And there's a little speckling of Candicebergen saliva still on here. And I tell you what, it just drives me wild, knowing full well that when I lick this Sennheiser, I'll be that close to Candicebergen.
Now, the typical radio person...
Stay off the seat.
Might think that, and would be generally afraid to do that. The good radio personalities, and all of us who think we are good, broke rules coming up, right?
Right.
Godfrey broke rules.
You were well known for breaking rules in Miami.
Oh, yeah, I broke a lot of rules. I don't think you can make it if you don't break rules.
I think sometimes rules help you. You know, you have parameters with which to work, and you're always kind of right on the edge there, and that gives you a little juice going.
Another thing, Larry, is the fact that so many people are afraid to be themselves on the radio. When we first moved our radio station, Mallwright Communications, people I work for out of Cleveland, they called me and said, we're going to go into New York. And I wouldn't have gone with one of the big networks because I run an unorthodox radio station. People like the Greaseman. That's the kind of person I want on my radio station.
You like the Grease.
I'm a big fan of his. I mean, I always have been. He was legendary in Jacksonville for years, and when he was in Washington. But the thing about it is, when you go on the radio and you act normal, for instance, it's taboo in most markets and most radio organizations to mention other stations in the market, other people. We congratulate someone for doing a good job. In New York, there's a fellow by the name of Scott Muni, who's a wonderful disc jockey, been around for years, and he's in the hospital. We wished him the best. And if someone's copying us or doing something we do, we talk about it, and they know it's there. Why can't you talk about it?
You knock the other stations as well.
We've been known to do that on occasion.
Now, there are some strange things. Aren't there management that at times will hire someone in the vein of your kind of ability and then try to tame them?
Yeah, that's why you have to get everything set from the get-go. When you're talking to them about the job, you have to decide, what you want to do, what they want. And I think if everybody's clear before you're ever near the microphone, you have a happy time there. But it's when people, it's like you marry a woman because she looks good in a bikini, then when she's yours, no more bikinis. One piece is trench coats at the beach. And it's the same thing with boss jocks. If something fascinates you and you pass the tapes around and you howl with laughter, and then you say, well, that's funny, but I don't know if I could do it on my station, well, then you're slitting your own throat.
What are the parameters, Scott? What are this may be hard to discuss. How far do you go? You don't curse. You don't use the 7 words you can't use, right?
No, we don't. We use terminology that people use in everyday life to a certain extent. We'll use a hell or a damn, but we don't use it all the time. We don't use it out of context to shock or anything else. If it's a natural word that comes out of your mouth, we'll use it on my show. And I believe you've been known to...
I have been known to
utter one of those 2 words.
Why is there a tendency on these shows, and this has been charged, to make fun of ethnic groups and homosexuals?
Well,
it's the general pattern of this style of show. True?
This style of show, we don't do it we don't do it on a consistent basis on our show. We might have something like Frontier Decorator, but
Frontier Decorator.
He came from Boston to redecorate the West. those fuchsias. I'm just saying it's not. That's not. We call ourselves the Z100 Morning Zoo an equal opportunity offender. Nothing serious, nothing sacred.
But this has been charged. I've read this, Greaseman, that it's been said that there's a fellow in Chicago and another guy in L.A. and people who put down groups.
Right. I can't speak for those guys, but on my show, I don't really put down anybody. I once knew a lawman who said, you'll never get in trouble if you hate everybody equally. And not that we don't hate everybody, but when I think if you're doing it just in light fun, and I don't really mean to set aside ethnic groups, but if you have, there's a whole world of people out there, and people are funny, and if you do it, in the spirit that it's meant, not out of hate and bitterness, but out of just, hey, this is going on in the world and it's amusing, then I don't get complaints from any ethnic groups.
Recently at our station, it was about a month ago. And keep in mind, we stay away from specific, we don't do the Polish jokes per se. And because of the nature of the show, when somebody's interpreting and say, these guys are funny, they make fun of everybody, they say, oh yeah, I bet they tell Polish jokes. We got this horrible hate letter in the mail from a local Polish leader. He says, we'll find a way to stop you. And it was so strange, I read it on the air, and all of a sudden, all these calls came in all morning long. Listen, I apologize. I'm Polish, and I love your show. I mean, the guy was he's one of those guys that needed some publicity and wanted us to read the letter.
Your shows are irreverent, though, right? I mean, you don't have...
That's not the right word.
What word did you use?
We don't go by the old guidelines.
It's true. That's true.
But
we have respect. I mean, there is something.
For whom?
For our contract.
We'll be right back with the Greaseman and Scott Shannon after these messages.
Live from the nation's capital, this is the Larry King Show. This is Rich Little as Johnny Carson, inviting you to join me for America's favorite talk program. As a matter of fact, Larry talks more than all three of my wives put together. Here's Larry.
With Scott Shannon and the Greaseman. We're coast to coast on Mutual. Is it, and this would be the greatest fear of all, a fad?
Well, I've been drinking for 14 years.
You've been a fad for about
years.
14 years.
Yeah, so made some good money over the years. I don't think it is. People want to be entertained, especially in the morning when normally you wake up, it's quiet, you just barely can motivate to the bathroom and the radio's on. I think.
But we went through this era, and maybe I'm still thinking that still occurs, of format radio, and in format when rock started, it was time, temperature, and play the record.
And Larry, down
and a
through
whole
the
crew
years,
of DJs came along who couldn't do anything beyond tell you time, temperature, and play the record.
But throughout those periods, there was always a Wally Phillips, if you're from Chicago. If you're from New York, there was a Bob and Ray, and there was, Arthur Godfrey on the networks. And if you're from Miami, there was Lee Sherwood, who always did personality and went into management. And in Los Angeles, Loman and Barkley. Why'd they succeed overall? Because they were different. They were funny.
Yeah, but there's usually one in the town.
Right.
Now that's changing. There are more. There are you guys.
When you have somebody that's doing a shtick and he's doing well with it, then the competition says, hey, let's find somebody else does a different kind of thing and let's see if we can knock him off. So that
now, this is the lube man. This is the lube man here this morning.
Do you pre-plan your morning?
I don't do mine. I just walk in there. I read the paper and then I walk in there at 6 and...
I think some of those production pieces yours are magnificent. The lawman things you pre-write most of them.
No, buddy. I think about it as the previous record is playing. Like someone will call up and say, "Hey, here's an idea," and I'll think about it and say, "That's pretty funny."
Scott doesn't believe you.
I don't believe it. Nobody's that intelligent, especially you.
How much of the...
Hey, I want the Maggotry to call up. Maggotry that's seen me over the years and do it and testify to this fact.
How much of the zoo is pre-planned?
We're very pre-planned. We have Ross Britton, my partner, runs an IBM computer, and we do about 3 to 4 hours a day on the next day's show.
You mean in the afternoon you sit down?
We do it between 10 and 1, and then we do our production pieces with JR, my production director, and if we're going to write a song, a parody, like we're going out to Yankee Town, we'll change the words, and we also do a lot of trivia questions. Both of us, you can't compare what Greaseman does with what we do. It's two different types of shows, wouldn't you say?
Really?
I mean, we're both entertainment in the morning. We're both different, but our shows are, quite a bit different.
Unique for the morning?
There's flamboyant behavior. I think we're both unique in what we do for the morning, but nowadays flamboyant behavior is coming the byword for morning success.
Now, what about midday?
Back to the easy listening,
You change midday.
Most stations do.
Why?
Because people basically want to hear the music the rest of the day. For some reason.
They don't want to laugh at 2 in the afternoon.
Well, it's not that they don't want to laugh. Another one of the things is it's very expensive to get into a budget. What do you want? Do you want 3 highly paid entertainers on a radio station? I mean, a station's budget can only afford 1 Greaseman or 1 Don Imus.
So the morning man is the guy that gets the most.
Right.
And then the rest. Do you think this kind of thing, if budgeted that way, could work? Say 24 hours. 5 zanies on a station.
I'd give it a go if I had the money. What the hey? Let each, if you could get the 5 guys that you thought were the most hilarious in the world and put them on, I'd give it a shot and see what happens. Nobody's done it. Let's see.
Nobody's done it.
No.
We keep saying guys. Are there any women doing what you do?
There are some women personalities. I think that the market is right for all the lady boss jocks listening tonight. I think that if there could be a lady that was on there just flamboyant, devil-may-care, get people on the phone, tear them up and down, make them prove that they're a man, that woman is looking at 100 G's tomorrow.
He's right. He's completely right. To this day, there's been no morning personality female disc jockey. Now, somebody's going to call and say, well, what about Miss So-and-so in Peoria? Well, that lady, she is that good and makes people laugh.
I don't think in the business there's ever been a woman that management, except maybe in all news stations, put on in the morning.
Why are there lady comedians? They can be funny. Why can't lady disc jockey?
There's a hesitancy in the business to trust a morning to a woman's voice. Isn't that a truism?
I think if someone
historical.
I think they're so hungry for morning radio personalities. If a certain radio station manager was presented with a great tape, we call them air checks in our business, which is a demonstration of your work. It's a resume on tape of what you do. I think he'd hire.
In a heartbeat.
I don't think he'd give a damn about whether it was a female or a male. It's too big. It's too much of a competitive business. If she's good, she'll get judged as being a disc jockey and not a female.
Do both of you kid politics and politicians?
To a degree. I don't make a point of doing any particular thing, just what happens to be hot that morning. But yes, I have done some of that.
Start. Oh yeah, we're very much into that.
You did a thing on Jesse Jackson singing a song about Hymietown, right?
That wasn't real popular in New York. That was a short hit. Short-lived. But we did another one. We have a school supervisor, the head of the New York school system, Anthony Alvarado. You may have read.
And arrested.
Not arrested. He's charged with. He's under suspicion. Let's put it that way. And for some money that he borrowed from his employees and people. And so we took an old Supreme song called "Where Did the Love Go?" and Tony, where did the dough go? And then we rewrote the lyrics, and it's a very popular song on our station now.
Satire.
You
do your own singing, right? Your own production.
Myself and my crew.
Yeah. You too?
Yes.
Do you do a lot of remotes? Is there still a lot of that? Do you go out and meet the teens?
We have one coming up. We're going to do a live show from a bar coming up April 26th. People can come by, have Bloody Marys at 0600. Ooh. And we do appearances, on the weekends. I'll be at record stores.
You do a lot of that.
Yeah. That number to call for a Greaseman appearance is...
Do you do, Scott, appearances?
We don't like to do the show out of the studio that much because it's so hard. We use the phone so much and a lot of pre-recorded things.
How about personal appearances? Record hops. Are there still record hops?
Not in the old terminology of record hops.
What about opening of the new shopping center?
I think that still goes on.
We still do that, yeah.
Are there a lot of groupies in your field?
That slowed him down, didn't it?
Yeah, buddy.
Grease slowed to a walk and stopped at the tavern.
Yeah, there's a lot of, but I'm sure in any business there's groupies, yes, but in the radio business, yes,
there's groupies in any business.
There is.
There's snuff queens in country music, and hockey players have their groupies, and baseball players.
Yeah.
Do you guys get offered, when you get very popular, television?
I've done some TV.
Which happened to the Godfreys and the Bob and Rays. And
right.
I think magazine for a while.
We're
little odds and ends.
We're flirting with a couple of offers now in New York, but it's such a difficult job to do. A truly wonderful morning show, as Grease will tell you, 5 days. We do 6 hours. We start at 6 o'clock and we go right into the A material, and we go till 10. 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. That takes a hell of a lot out of you.
Yes.
Aren't they starting many stations now at 5?
Some guys didn't think fast when they were signing on the paper.
Not us.
Stuck with that.
We'd be rolling it at 6, Larry.
6 o'clock.
All right. Now, it's the common impression in the business that because it's New York, it's tougher. The competition's tougher and the talent is better. Is that true?
Well,
say than Tampa.
Certainly a lot of people said, and I was concerned when I moved from Tampa Bay, where I had a zoo there, and had to start over again. I worked 3 hard years and had wonderful people at the radio station. I worked at Q105, and the partner that I worked with there remained in Tampa, and I'm going to New York, and it's a brand new station, and I was a little bit apprehensive. But when that kind of thing happens to me, probably just like you have been in the past, what I do is I just close my eyes to all the outside influences and I work.
But is New York better? Is the talent better in New York? Is the competition tougher in New York?
I got to be honest with you, and not a put down to the talent, but there's just about the same level of talent for the size of the city in New York as there is in Chicago. In Los Angeles, there's a wonderful disc jockey named Rick Dees, one of the greatest morning men in the country. And you take Washington right here. You got Greaseman in the morning. You have Elliott and Woodside. You have several other fairly good talents. I think it's getting to the point where the revenue is so important that there's always at least 2 good competitors, sometimes up to 4.
But the image that New York, because it's New York, is necessarily better is not true.
There's no doubt that Don Imus, wouldn't you agree, was considered the #1 morning man in America for so many years. But quite frankly, and this is only my opinion, Don just got tired of doing it. And it's just not the old spark.
Washington much better than Jacksonville?
To a degree, but not that much different. I don't really think. A lot of guys just want to get. It seems like in the business that people always ask you, do you one day want to get to New York or L.A.? I don't really think that's important. I think you got to do your best and be as creative as you can be. And really, to me, the bottom line is, how much you're getting paid. I've had guys call me and say, yeah, I'm working in the big time now, and they're in Union Scale in New York, living in Bayonne, New Jersey, taking a bus 2 hours in, 2 hours out for 36 stinking G's. I spend that in tips. Come on, and that to me is not the big time. To me, I'd go to Paducah, Kentucky for $400 a year, I think, and to me, I would have made the big time. Get me a big old house, big old southern house, and sit there. I don't have to
get you a racehorse.
Really,
Was it your goal to work in New York?
No, it wasn't my goal, to be honest with you.
I thought most people in the radio business want New York.
I was very, very happy and planned on a long, long time in Tampa Bay, Florida. I dearly love that area. I worked for a wonderful organization. But the individual that called me, Mr. Milton Maltz from Mallory Broadcasting, presented, and Grace made a very good point. A lot of young people in any job, they say, oh, yeah, this is Chicago or this is Milwaukee. It's 3 markets up from where I am. They just jump. But the most important thing to me is because of the style that I use and the differences in my management style, I like to know who I'm working for. That's real important to me. And it's just not, and I think it's important to make enough money to support yourself, but it's more important to be happy with the people that you work for.
You would not then have left Jacksonville to come to Washington if it wasn't more money, just to jump markets.
Right. I would never go anywhere just to jump markets. Provided I was happy where I was and doing my job.
Is that the general among your peers as well? Because
no, not really.
Because when I was younger, that wasn't the rule, man. If you could jump a market, you jumped a market.
You could tell how long the disc jockey's been in business by the size of his U-Haul.
Really, that was pretty grim for a while there.
How many? I think it's so stupid to take yourself, sell your home. If you have a family, take your family, move into another city when you don't even know the people you're going to work for. You're there about 3 months. This has happened to you, Larry.
Uh-huh.
You know it has. 3 months, all of a sudden, oh, my God, what have I done?
Really?
And then you got to start looking again. That's ridiculous.
Is there an age barrier where you're going to want to say, I don't want to be a disc jockey anymore?
I don't think so. As long as you really get a kick out of doing it and you get off the air, and sometimes your stomach hurts when you walk out of the room because you've been laughing so hard after the morning, and I don't think you ever have to stop.
So therefore, you wouldn't be ashamed if you were a 65-year-old
No.
disc jockey?
No, we've got a legend at our AM station, Eddie Gallagher, is in his 60s.
Yeah. Look at Hardin and Weaver. Look at Wally Phillips doing all right, isn't he?
John Gambling?
Yeah.
Well, John's not in the 60s, but his father stayed forever.
It's a wonderful, wonderful announcer.
I mean, do you feel...
I get that question. What's next? You've conquered New York. I haven't conquered New York. I had 8 great months, and I developed... I love entertaining on the radio. That's my relaxation. That's relaxation to me. That's where I have my fun.
And you'll do it no matter what age.
I don't care.
We've zipped through an hour.
You are.
Thanks a lot. He'll never be back. Write that down. We'll pause for news on the hour. A word from you. Don't say that to me. A word from your local stations, and we'll be back with your phone calls. for Scott Shannon and the Greaseman, two of the more talented morning disc jockeys in this country. They do what they do, and they march to their own drummers. We're ready to go to your phone calls for Scott Shannon and the Greaseman, Austin, Texas. Hello.
Greaseman.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
Yeah, I was in Jacksonville. I was stationed there with the A Squadron. I just got a couple questions for you.
Go ahead.
First of all, how's the canoodling with the Yankee high steppers? And what do you look like?
What do I look like? Well, that's right. I didn't do appearances when I was in...
No.
I'm 6'2", 190. Bold, proud, bulky, angry.
And a macho man.
Definitely macho. Definitely a weightlifter.
Sweating testosterone, huh?
Testosterone level, buddy. I got so much testosterone my nose runs, buddy.
Thank you very much. Keep the level of calls at that level. Bethesda, Maryland. Hello.
Hello. I have a question for both of you. What do you think about the syndication of popular DJs throughout the United States? I've heard some talk, and read in Billboard about possibility, you get some guys that are really popular like you and spreading it around to the rest of the nation, not just in one market.
Okay, how about that? How about doing this kind of show in the morning? Would it work nationally?
I think what's funny is funny, but there is an emphasis on being local.
You're always going to be behind whoever's local. If there's someone who's equally as funny as you are on locally, they're going to have the advantage.
By being local.
Mm-hmm.
However, wouldn't it work with stations? There are a lot of stations in the market. Doesn't it be just one station?
It's been tried several times. The ABC network tried it with Super Radio. They never even got on the air. Lost millions of dollars.
So you don't think a national music show with a host like one of you...
Something, well, you got to understand, Casey Kasem is extremely popular, but it's not a humorous thing. Rick Dees, the disc jockey I referred to from Los Angeles, has a countdown show, which is, has some humor in it. But basically, it's very difficult to be topical and be recorded.
Grease, how about live satellite every morning?
I've thought about that. I thought it'd be neat to do it, but still the emphasis on as a Washington base, that it would be live. I'd take local phone calls. I think that sitcom shows on TV are fun. Archie Bunker was based in New York. Somebody's based, a.k.a. Pablo's out in L.A. Funny is funny, and as long as you can be a part of it. I'd like to be local, take calls, and yet still be able to, broadcast that thing.
Thank you. It's Scott Shannon and the Greaseman, Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Hello.
Uncle Greasy.
Hey, buddy.
You don't know who this is.
It's Mike Robinson.
That's close, though.
Mike, don't tell me. Got to keep on dancing.
Uncle Mitch.
Uncle Mitch. Mitch, the lawman. I'm sorry. How you been?
I've been all right, buddy.
You still alive?
I'm still alive.
No maggots have plugged you yet?
Huh?
Are you still a policeman?
Still in Zone 3.
They haven't caught up with your sorry behind yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
Hey, buddy, huh? What do you think?
Uh-huh.
It's a long way from Palatka, huh?
I'm telling you the truth. You come a long way, baby.
I hate to interrupt you. Do you have a question, sir?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. How come you didn't call me back when I called you about 2 weeks ago?
I'm sorry, buddy. They didn't leave me a message.
Thank you. The personal service continues. Jacksonville, hello.
Yeah, I got a question.
New York will get in soon, and Tampa, don't get embarrassed, Scott. Go ahead.
Okay. Greaseman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hey, my name is Joe. I was part of the maggotry down here when you were with the Big Ape.
Yeah.
Got a couple questions. One, there's a bunch of rumors flying around town that you're coming back.
Not true.
Okay. Two, have you got anybody up there that you work with along the lines that, the same way you did down here with Robbie Rose and Hoyle Dempsey and that bunch?
No, I'm doing it on my own in Washington.
Oh, boy, flying solo.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay,
Thank you. The station was Ape.
That was WAPE. They call it the Big Ape.
He was in a town, Jacksonville, was number 37 in the country or something?
I'm not sure.
It's not like one of your top 20 markets, but he had such a following in the entire state of Florida. People used to dub off tapes and send them to their friends all over the country, and Greaseman was like an American legend.
You knew of him in Tampa?
Oh, yeah, we've known each other for some time.
Wouldn't the zoo work on the Big Ape? I mean, that would seem so logical.
I like Jacksonville. I'm just saying it's just...
No, I mean a zoo-type thing on the Big Ape. I mean, it seems just...
They're playing that country and western music now.
Gaithersburg, Maryland. Hello.
Hello. What do you guys think of Gene Craven, who used to be in Washington and went to New York radio, and whatever happened to him?
Well, he was with Clavin and Finch for a long time, and then he was on his own on WOR. And then he left, and I don't know what Gene Craven.
He's retired right now, and as a matter of fact, there was a recent incident where another station was negotiating with him, and they couldn't come to a settlement. So he is ready to probably get back in the radio because his partner died.
He was a talented guy. Charlottesville, Virginia. Hello.
Hi. I want to describe an incident that happened in our town on the college radio station and see what these DJs, especially the Greaseman, think of it.
Go ahead.
Because a friend of mine's a DJ on another station. And this hoax was created when two guys on the college radio station announced that a famous rock star who's going to come to our town died because they wanted to play his music all evening. And then at the end of the hour, they said, no, he really wasn't dead. And my friend thought that this is, since radio is a limited resource, they were betraying the public trust and all that. But I thought it was on the level of the Greaseman.
No, I think it's awful. I would never do a thing like that. Say somebody's died just to play his records on. Suppose the guy's mother's driving through town, and here's... No, I would never do that.
That was whoever did that was a very sick, irresponsible individual.
That is not good radio. You thought it was?
Some people did.
People at the University of Virginia? An Ivy League type school?
I didn't want to say the name of the town on the air.
Charlottesville's a very famous city.
Mm-hmm. That's why I didn't want to say the name.
Somehow I believe that disc jockey won't be a very famous disc jockey, though.
No, he got canned quick.
Thank you to...
We're rolling now.
Burke, Virginia. Hello.
Yes, I'd like to talk to the Greaseman.
Yeah,
Sure.
buddy.
Nito.
Yeah.
I really enjoy whenever you do the sound for the good ship Grease.
Yeah.
Could you do that for me?
All right, the Good Ship Grease is my 57 feet of sleek fiberglass that I keep berthed in the Potomac. It has twin diesels sucking gas, making the sound that makes the whole Persian Gulf stand up and cheer. And that sound is... Blado, bloody, bloody, blada, bloody, bleedy, bloda, blada, bleedy, blodo, blodo, blada, bleedy, blodo, blodo, bloody. Sometimes I just start it up just to hear the noise.
We'll be back after... I think I'm going to cry. These messages.
You're listening to The Larry King Show, live from the nation's capital. Here again, Larry King.
From the scene, morning zoo. Folks like you, good morning from the scene, morning.
With Scott Shannon and the Greaseman, Raleigh, North Carolina. Hello.
How you doing, Larry? First-time caller.
Hi.
Enjoy the show. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi, buddy.
I'm not subscribed to an air check service, and I've enjoyed y'all for years. Very good. My question is to Scott Shannon. We have two announcers that started from this area. Rick Dees, that you mentioned, worked part-time in this area.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeff Davis in Chicago. Did I read that you worked in North Carolina at one time in this area?
When I never really worked. I worked in the area, but I wasn't really in my career yet. I started my career in Mobile at WABB.
Right.
While I was in the service, I kind of fibbed about my experience and worked part-time in Fayetteville, WFLB and WFBS.
Oh, and when you're in the Army.
Yeah, I was in the service, and then I moved into Columbus, Georgia, and then I got out of the service and started my real radio career.
Well, keep up the good work, both of you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Laurel, Maryland. Hello.
Yeah, this is Ray. I just want to tell Scotty from New York how sincere Grease was on that statement that he can make up some seconds on two separate occasions. I've called him. There's no way he could have done anything like that in 30, 40 seconds. He just did it.
You've ruined a myth.
He did it.
I never wanted to think he was that intelligent.
He is, buddy.
All right. Thank you. West Hartford, Connecticut. Hello.
Yes, hi, Larry. I've got two questions for your guests, please. And by the way, it's a very appropriate night for having them on Friday the 13th. Actually, it is Saturday the 14th.
Here's a whiz-banger.
All right, Greaseman, two questions for you, please. Question number one, there was a guy here in the Hartford area, actually in Newington, Connecticut, at a radio station, WPOP, around up to 9 years ago, June 1975. Was that you?
That was me.
Oh, if I remember correctly, let me see, you were the last, see if I remember this correctly, you were the last disc jockey who played music up till about 6 a.m. that day in June when Bob Michaels and Dominique Avery started playing, news.
It went all those right. I was on the last day.
Yeah, that's right. Second question. Is there any chance of you coming back up to the Hartford area, say WDRC, another music station that still plays music?
I am under a long-term contract in Washington, so not for the foreseeable future.
What do you think of POP, by the way?
I had a good time when I was there. I enjoyed working in Hartford.
You had a very low voice. You didn't use your other type of voice, if I recall correctly. It was always the same low one.
Were you always called the Greaseman?
Yes, sir.
We go to, don't say sir, Pittsburgh. Hello.
Hold on. Never thought I'd get through to you guys. Anyway, question for both of those, but three questions, really. First of all, you say there's not enough talent going around to do that type of program. There are a lot of people around, talented, I think, who could do personality radio. Gary Owens is still around. Biondi is still floating around somewhere. Nobody was ever, I don't think, any more outrageous than, say, Matt Daddy, and nobody, I don't think, was ever more irreverent than a Rod Roddy. And Ron Britton, sadly, for all his talent, I think the last time I looked was playing Segway City on a satellite music channel somewhere. So I think there are people there to do it. It's just that station management doesn't seem to want to let anybody do it.
Sir, besides being talented, you also have to manage your career properly.
That could be, but do you think maybe part of the problem might be the methodology of Arbitron, which seems to reward any kind of tune in and penalize people who might be wanting to tune out or whatever.
Yeah, you do get penalized when you tune out, sir.
Yeah, you do. And also, finally one for the grease.
That's logical, yeah.
Quick one for the Greaseman. You drive your crazy newsman in Washington up all like poor Alan Moore in Jacksonville.
I don't have a newsman in Washington.
Oh, you used to make Alan Moore eat dip charges.
Yeah. I'd like their comment, though, on your first statement, Scott, that he says there is a lot of talent, just not enough management that'll hire the talent.
Larry, you know yourself, there were times in your past, and let's be honest, you're an extremely talented individual, but there were times in your past when you did things wrong and you challenged management. Were you always right?
No.
Same with me when I was a baby DJ. I think Grease is always kind of nice to people, but there were times when you had some problems, too, I'm sure.
Well, you just can't come on and do the kind of thing we do the first day when you're on.
Yeah, that's
you have
the
to
thing.
Build a track record so you have that innate sense of where you are.
By the way, I wasn't inferring that all of the names mentioned by that gentleman were, but there have been many, many discipline problems. There comes a time when you start to believe everything they write about you, and you are God, and you're going to tell the general manager what to do. He's still your boss. The station will still be on the air when you're gone.
The one thing true of everyone in the business, we are all subject to the likes of management. If they don't like you, they don't like you, right?
Marty's on the hotline.
Mobile, Alabama. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Larry. And I'd like to say good evening to Scott Shannon. First of all, I had no idea that he ever worked at WABB here in Mobile.
I had a high voice. I think my voice is high now.
Yeah, and you were a lot of fun in Tampa while I lived there for several years, and I had the opportunity to meet you and Cleveland while you were there. I was a disc jockey at WSF for a while. And I've got a couple of questions for you. First question is, the show that you're doing in New York now, I've also used to live in New York, and...
you move around there, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I'm always... Well,
what's the question?
When people in radio get to move around...
What's the question?
The question is, are you formatting the show the same way that you did in Tampa? And if so, let's see, I'm trying to phrase myself here.
Are you in radio, sir?
How are you competing with Don Imus? And also...
Okay, are you formatting it the same way?
The zoo format was developed while in Tampa for a morning audience for demographics between the ages of 12 and 54. Developed at that time. My partner was Cleveland Wheeler, who was still in Tampa, doing a very, very fine job on that radio station. And then we shifted it took it to New York. We altered it in several ways. It's a different radio show. It's a different town. I mean, Grease is Grease when he's in Washington, but I would be more than positive that there were some changes and some alterations you made in some of the things you do. Great radio people don't go from station to station and do the same darn thing they did there. You have to alter. You custom build your program, your radio station to fit the community. Simple as that. When I was in Mobile, I was a night jock. I was Super Shan, 7 to midnight on WABB, and I was just a wild man, fast, jaw-jacking, and it was wild, and I really wasn't communicating on the level that I communicate now, I feel.
Right. Is it essential that you guys like the music you're playing?
Not totally, but I think it helps, especially if you're in a top 40 type format where the music is part of your rap. I don't actually talk on or with the music, but I do like it. It's nice, when you're sitting there thinking of what to say, if you can hum along and not be, hating it.
Wasn't the doctor on WKRP in Cincinnati pretty much saluting what you guys do? Wasn't he our image of what you are?
I hope not.
You hope not? You don't think he was funny and good and himself?
He was funny and
weird?
good, but I mean, he gave the image that disc jockeys are all airheads and float around. I mean, I have personal interests. I have personal hobbies. I'm more than just a crazy man on the radio, and just like my friend Greaseman. I mean, I don't think we're
but your image perfects the crazy man on the radio.
Are you like every other talk host?
No, of course not.
Of course not. We're all different. How can you put anybody on television?
But you project an image of craziness, and he projected that image on a very well-written sitcom. How did you regard him?
I don't know. I thought the one thing that struck me as the truism was he was sleeping all the time. I mean, he was always tired, and that's one thing as a morning man. You're always just a little drowsy.
The unusual thing about that, and KRP was kind of close to me because Hugh, the person that writes that and put it together, Hugh Heller was an ad man in Atlanta when I was running a radio station, WQXI, and the actual general manager on KRP is a facsimile of a fellow by the name of Jerry Blum, who's just a wonderful guy, runs a station in Atlanta. And all the other characters, the blonde Lonnie Anderson secretary, was like ours. He used to hang out in our lobby, and it was designed after the station WQXI in Atlanta.
I always liked that show. We go to Charleston, South Carolina. Hello.
Larry, good show.
Thank you.
I've got a question for Uncle Greasy.
Buddy, I'm standing by.
All right. I was a faithful listener of yours in Charleston, South Carolina, when you were on the Big Ape in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, since I'm addicted and suffering withdrawal symptoms, if I can procure any tapes at DC...